नमस्ते, जय श्री कृष्ण। धर्मो रक्षित रक्षतः. Very beautifully, our scriptures explain to us, Dharmo rakshita rakshatah. If we protect the Dharma, then Dharma will protect us. Not only the protection, to understand the Dharma, we need to understand what the Dharma is giving us. Dharma is giving us identity. Dharma is giving us our own ways of living the life, and most importantly, Dharma is giving us a dignity. When we protect our Dharma, then Dharma will be protect us, and then Dharma can be protected by through our scriptures and our mechanism. Mantra, Tantra, Yantra. Mantra gives us energy, Tantra and Yantra. Very in-depth, scientific way, very in-depth, logical way, very in-depth, practical way. Our guest today, Mohan Bhai, who is MBA. And we all of us have heard him. The way he explained us, the way he put us into the different perceptions about then we can see what is our scriptures for us. Without wasting time, Mohan Bhai is with us, and then नमस्कार मोहन भाई, कैसे हैं आप? हाउ आर यू?
नमस्कार जी,
होप
बहुत अच्छे हैं।
होप यू
आप
ऑल
कैसे
आर?
हैं?
हम ठीक है एकदम. तो today we are going to be talk and understand, and obviously I don't, there is no need a more formal introductions about Mohan Bhai. And this beauty is now the viewers are waiting for him to listen, and obviously our viewers always listen to me. So I think Mohan Bhai will take over from me, and he will start. And I'm sure today's show one of the best and one of the informative show it will be, and you will be enjoy this information because the topic which has been selected, and this topic will help you into the understanding about when the next week Monday we starting the Chaitra Navratri Hindu New Year, Hindi New Year is beginning. So obviously that you will be better understand what the mantra help us, how the yantra help us, and tantra also one another will help us. Because about the tantra, there is a lot of misunderstanding, and that all going to be get cleared out today. So without wasting time, I will ask Mohan Bhai to give his valuable knowledge to us, and then we will look forward for it. Mohan Bhai, welcome once again, and then share your knowledge with our viewers and devotees.
Once again, namaskar and thank you very much, Gopal Vyas ji. And also welcome and namaskar to all the viewers. And once again, thank you for also tuning in to listen. We did speak about in the last Tuesday. We did speak about the idols, or what we call as murtis, because there is no similarity within the between English and Sanskrit. The translations are never exact, so you lose out a lot of meaning by the time you translate from Sanskrit to English. So what happens is we call it idols, but then the murtis, and then the way we invoke the life force in them, the whole sthapana process, the mandir and the idols, why we go there for darshan. The fact that unlike other religions where they go to pray, we don't go to pray, we pray anywhere, but we go to get darshan. And of course, we do pray along with we talked about all of that, but obviously then the next thing comes about, what there are mantras, there are shlokas, then we also hear yantras and tantras. So let us clear the web a bit on this. I know that Guruji Gopal Vyas ji always gives you a lot of insights into all of these. But at the risk of repetition, I will try and keep it brief, and also try and just give you some basics which might be interesting, and hopefully you'll enjoy, and also you'll be able to share with others. So we often hear these things about yantra, mantra, tantra. So let us start with yantra. What is a yantra? The very words ya and tra. These are the two words that are coming in yantra, and n is getting it connected. Yantra. As it is, the word ya means in Sanskrit. Remember I told you Sanskrit always has got meanings of every sound. So the word ya in Sanskrit actually denotes something that's going away from you. Means going. Ga is also for going. So that ga for going is something else. There's a difference between something that's going and something that's going away from you. That means something that's came from you or originating from you or going away from you. Now that going is ya. And tra means basically any technology, instrument, technique, all of that is tra, the technology. So yantra or yantra is any weapon or an instrument or something with which you are doing something that actually goes away from you, or at least helps you to send something away from you. But then that's an instrument that you're using to be able to send out of your sphere, and that's a yantra, which means it's basically a technical item, or it's a machine tool, or it's whatever it is. Those are the things that are called as yantras. Okay, and then we come to tantra. Tantra is nowadays, because of people using it with black magic and those kind of things, is a very, very wrong way of thinking of tantra. Tantra is not at all that. People call tantric practices as if it is. No, no, no. That is just it's a very small fringe part of it, which if used that way, because tantra is a name. I mean, look, you could use the word knife. Knife can be to cut vegetables or even to cut flesh. So same way, tantra is both. What is tantra? Tantra again uses the word tan. Tan means expansion. Expanding what from the body? When you're looking at expanding, essentially it comes down to the self. From the self, you then expand right up to the universe. We know that in the Hindu ethos, we can call the whole universe residing within ourselves. So that is why there is no limit to the expansion of the self. You can expand it to any level. So the expansion process of yourself to become more and more, which means you can gain more and more, you expand your consciousness, your physical body, or your strength, or your influence out across unlimited fashion up to any level. And that thing and anything that assists in that is tantra. Because what, even including yoga, all the sadhanas, all tantra yoga, all these are basically coming under tantra. Because under tantra, you are essentially trying to elevate yourself in a fashion that you are able to expand your consciousness or your powers or your understanding and all. In that, as you go on, there might be certain very, very dubious or certain extreme practice. Because remember one thing, in Hinduism there are no limits. You can try anything. In the end, all of it is a journey to the supreme. We are all in that same journey, and this journey, when you are going to the from you to the supreme, You can employ many methods, and there are people who employ those methods. There are some people who will cover, the ash over their body, live in cemeteries, and even cut flesh and whatnot. They will do those things because they are desperate. They are trying that method too to reach the ultimate. Whether they are right or wrong or lost or whatever is not for us to judge. That small part. And sometimes that has got used to say as if that is tantra. Oh, he's a tantric, but that's very wrong. That's not what is Tantra. Tantra is right from every, even the Hatha Yoga, because you're using your body parts, your own body. You're not using an outside item, which you are sending from you to somewhere else as a yantra. This is a Tantra, which is you're using from the body itself. So the body, the tan, which is essentially, it can be up from here, its limit, and it can expand up to the edges of the universe. That is your power. And everything that you use, whether you elevate yourself through your chakras or everything, you're expanding your body. Remember, from your physical body, you are then going into your etheric body, and then you're going into your astral body, and then the supreme body and everything. So it keeps on expanding. So all of those things, whether you elevate the chakras or you do anything, is all coming under tantra. That is the basic tantra there. Having understood these two now, let us talk a little bit more in detail about the mantra. When we say mantra, again the same thing. Man and tra. Tra is again a technique, technology, tool. And man is the mind. So the mantra, when we're talking of mantra, we are saying that mantra means anything that by which you can control the mind, anything by which you can calm the mind, anything by which you can manage the mind, that is the mantra. So a mantra, what happens is, usually we are saying certain, there's certain mantras. When you recite those mantras, you are invoking something through the mental faculty of yours. And those mantras are usually syllables or words that we use. Those are sounds that we make. And these sounds are very important, because you also have certain bij mantras. Bij mantras are very, very basic primal sounds with which those mantras are made. And these are then transferred from guru to shishya, because they are very, very specific. And they have to be pronounced in a particular fashion. There are three ways to do the mantra. One is you neither understand nor are you focused. No use. Other is you're very devoted, but you don't understand. At least you are, repeating the mantra. Maybe because a guru has taught you. And now, even if you do not understand the meaning, there's at least some effect, because that sound is coming out in the universe. The sound is there. And it has its effect. And if you are able to understand the meaning, so that even your mind, you visualize what the meaning is, and you also are taking out the sound, then that mantra is the most effective mantra, because it is either to calm your mind or it is to create a new universe. To whatever it is, that mantra has got the capability to do it. Now, what is the science behind that? Because if we do that, is it as simple? After all, sound is sound. And like I said earlier once, let us come back, because you must be noticing that all your mantras are in the Sanskrit language, isn't it? So in the Sanskrit language, when we're talking about the mantras, let us go back to the Sanskrit language itself, that what is the meaning that's coming out of there in that thing. So in that, there what happens is, any other language, if you ask people, why do you learn a language? They say, because we need to communicate to each other. Now, let us take this definition further and say, okay, so you're going to communicate. So communicate and communicate and communicate can start becoming communicate, debate, shout, argue, everything. So everything comes under that. And that is why there's so much of noise. Why? Because the very purpose was communicate. And because the purpose is communicate, it means that every time you communicate, it remains unfulfilled. So you try more and more. And in trying more and more, what happens? You create all these, the trolling and whatnot that you are aware of that's happening in social media. We all over communicate, because we will have to somehow communicate a point. We have to make sure that, we have to debate, argue, analyze, and everything. So the whole gamut comes out. So the whole very fundamental starts guiding this entire thing called communication in a very different way. Come back to Sanskrit. In Sanskrit, what is the purpose of the language? The purpose of the language is to allow you to be silent, to bring you to silence. So when that is the objective, how do you come to silence? Because you can't remain silent when you got a lot of words. So it means that it is only looking at one thing, and that is to express yourself. Because you are expressing yourself in order that you are able to become silent, you are able to become at peace, you are able to be at satisfaction, and for that you will express in the manner that is most suitable. So it goes on to take it there. So it is the whole objective is that you express yourself in such a fashion that in the end you have nothing more to express, and then you become silent. What do you do after you express yourself completely? There's nothing more left to say. You are silent. And that is what it takes you to that. And that is why the whole edifice on which Sanskrit is built is on the basis of this sound. And what our sages believe was that as with the universe, as like energy, as like light, sound is an intrinsic part of the universe. It always existed. You see, today when we make a sound, we are not really creating something new from. All that we are doing is we are modulating the air, flow of air through a particular method. And that is a sound. And if you're only doing those frequencies, means those frequencies existed. And also the sound that you created as a frequency will continue to remain to exist. So it will exist in that form, or it will transform into some other form of energy, but it will go on. That energy is neither created nor destroyed. So it is always there. So what happens is they have said if sounds are the intrinsic part of the universe, then they have created a language by contemplating upon it, meditating upon it, and then being able to download the sounds into themselves and then transmit. So what they're transmitting is, that is why called Deva Bhasha, means the language of the gods. Who are the gods? The creators. Who are the creators? I leave that to you. It's the Brahman, it's the super consciousness. So the universe, the creation, the sounds, the energy, everything is intrinsic. It's all part. It's all within us. It's all outside us. We are that. That is us. That is the sound. So the sound is an intrinsic part of us. So when these sounds are created, what they did was they saw the Damru of Shivji, and they said the Damru makes 14 very basic sounds, and those were called the vowels. Now, when we say vowels in English, or when we say consonants, and I ask you, what does that mean? Most of you will tell us that vowels are those single sounds and consonants are a combination of sounds. But you'll not be able to tell me what does consonant by itself mean. Don't tell me the alphabet. Don't tell me this is vowel and this is consonant. Don't tell me that. Tell me what is a consonant? What does it mean? Again, Sanskrit will give you the clue for that. Sanskrit will tell you that the vowels are swaras, which means these are just sounds that come unobstructed. So we have 14 sounds we can take out unobstructed. A, I, O, those are your vowels of Sanskrit that come unobstructed. Why do we say unobstructed? Because you will notice that the consonants, those of you who have done the Varnamala in your native language, in Gujarati or anything, will be aware, because unlike in English, we have the consonants which are like kakha, gagha, chacha, jaja, da, 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 and tatha, da, da, papa, baba. Those whole five rows of things. So those, all of them require some kind of contact. They don't come unobstructed. There's some obstruction you create in your mouth to be able to take them out. That is why, for example, when you say kakka, gagha, that is coming from the base of your throat. Those are all one line. Then when you say chacha, jaja, those are coming from the back of the roof of your mouth. So those are called your palatals. And then when you do da 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 da, you're doing exactly below the brain, the cerebrals. You're again touching a part of the roof of your mouth, that is da 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 da. Those are, I'm doing too quickly because all of you are aware of it, you know it. Those are your the sounds. And then you have the tatha da dha, tatha tat tatha. That is you make your, these are dentals, which is you need your teeth. With your teeth, you touch your tongue and then you make those sounds. And then the sounds that you make only by the contact of the lips, like papa, mama, ma, papa, all these are from your lips. So these have been categorized into 5 rows. Those that come from the base of the throat, then from the roof of the mouth, in the back, in the front, then the contact with the teeth, tongue and the teeth, and then the lips. These are together then become the consonants. So you see this beauty of this language where you have understood the meaning or the reason for communication. You've understood the value of the sound. You've understood the creation of the sound through our human faculties. And then through that, through contemplation, when those sounds are downloaded and they are then created into a mantra, that means they are a set of sounds that have been created with a particular methodology, with a particular framework, with a particular contemplation. And those sounds are immortal. And those sounds have a particular function that they will perform. Whether it is the Gayatri mantra or the Mrityunjay mantra or whatever, these are all mantras that have a certain efficacy. And that is why it is important to, if possible, understand the mantra, if not, at least to be able to pronounce it correctly and then take it out, because it's a question of allowing those frequencies to be created. And then it is also always good to get that from a guru, because then you will get the right pronunciation. These mantras, sometimes when they are long enough, Sanskrit is another beautiful point. For example, if I, my friend Vijay, he's got a car. I was walking on the road. He gave me a lift. When I tell my wife that I saw Vijay and he gave me a lift, I don't have to say he's got a car, because that's already stated and she already knows. So you see, I don't have to say he has a car. Similarly, what happens is in Sanskrit, in the mantras also, there's a cascading effect, so that the level 2 mantra already assumes the level 1 knowledge. Level 3 mantra assumes the level 2 knowledge, and it goes on like that. So when you come down to the final ultimate one and you create just the seeds of that mantra, it is opening a whole book of mantras for you, because they're all embedded in there. This is again another beauty in Sanskrit which doesn't exist in any other language. And this is, like, when you, if you must have heard, Panini created the whole grammar of Sanskrit. And remember, Sanskrit has got the largest literature in the world. It has got 30 times more than Latin and Greek combined. So it's a huge literature. That much of literature in that language. Its grammar was composed within 8 chapters, which you can by heart, which you can memorize, by Panini. But then essentially the key in his 8 chapters is that as you unlock those chapters, there's already embedded meanings and so many things flowing from it. So it's pretty large text. So this is the way the Bij mantras also. So when you have the Bij mantras, you've got those syllables that are said, and when you repeat them, because the power of your guru is flowing through you, because the power of that speech is flowing through you, the power of the meaning is flowing through you, when you utter the Bij mantras, you are then taking it all out correctly. I hope so far that has made some sense, and certainly you would have found some amount of scientific understanding in that. Let us then go and understand that if that is mantra, what is shloka? Because we always seem to confuse the two, and we kind of talk of shloka also like it's a mantra. Shloka, bol diya, shloka, this and that. But shloka is not a mantra. Shloka is essentially a verse. It's a poetry. It's a meter. And then, of course, Sanskrit is very complicated. Their shlokas are such that you will have to even have the correct number of metric levels, metric numbers, and they must repeat in that phase. It's not just rhyming of the last word or some very heartfelt prose. I mean, I've seen a lot of poetry where it seems you could even write it as a prose, the whole essay, but then somehow it is written in lines, and then we very appreciative. Fantastic. That's English literature, English poems. I understand, pretty nice. But then Sanskrit is not just like that. Sanskrit poetry is much more complex, but then it's much more. But the language is such that it lends itself to poetry so beautifully that it is said that in Sanskrit, poetry is easier than writing prose. Writing Sanskrit prose is very difficult, because it's that language itself has got the poetic meters in it that you can take it out. It comes out in the right number of lines, and it comes out like that. That's poetry, and that's where is the shlokas. And when it comes to shlokas, your whole Gita is full of shlokas, or Mahabharata, everywhere. There's so many shlokas in there. And shlokas are conducted or written sometimes in praise of the Lord, or sometimes describing an event or a whole novel. Everywhere shlokas are there. And essentially shlokas are the verses. And here I'll tell you a small little interesting story of a shloka. Like, for example, and I have mentioned this once before, maybe some of you might remember, is ya 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 32 times. And that's a shloka, and it's a beautiful shloka. It's considered another masterpiece in Sanskrit. It was composed by Vedanta Desika, a, a very learned, uh, we don't have those kind of words, like Vidwan and those in English, but a very learned intellectual from the southern part of the country of India, and but something like 700-800 years ago. He was quite well known. So obviously, when you become well known, you also have people who are jealous or compete with you, because as you gain popularity, you have more and more competition. Not easy to go to the pinnacle because there's a lot of talent everywhere. So people come, and there were some poets who came and they challenged him. They said, if you're really such a great poet, we give you a challenge. If today after sunset, we'll give you time from sunset today to sunrise tomorrow morning, you must compose a poem of at least minimum 1,000 verses, and all of them must be upon the padukas. Padukas are those wooden sandals. You see, you must have found sages wearing it or the gods wearing it. Those are shown in ancient India as padukas. They are the wooden sandals, wooden footwear. So they said, on this you have to compose 1,000 lines and overnight. Now it's quite a challenge, because how much will you and what will you write on padukas? And you have to do that, and he had to do it in one night. It is believed that he did it in roughly a little over 3 hours. He did it, and in that, if you Google, Padukam Stotram, you will find that whole PDF of his 1,008 verses. They wanted 1,000. He created 1,008 verses. In that, there is a beautiful 32-letter verse, and those 32 letters are basically nothing but ya 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 ya. And now look at the beauty of Sanskrit here, the meaning. Because when we say ya, 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 you see it consists of the sounds and ya. And when we say ya, ya, you see means come, ya means go. Remember in the opening I told you about a yantra, ya is go. So is come, ya is go. So when you say ya, 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 there is an coming in. So it means coming and going. So you see, you use paduka to come and go. So obviously he's using that there. Coming and going is ya, ya, ya. And then you remember many Gujaratis who are into business and all will be knowing, or when you, or in your native language, you'll know the word I means income. So aya, when you say aya, there's also income. That means there is income, there is profit, there is gain. There's always gain, and also when you say aya, it also means remove. So gain profit, remove obstacles. So in that verses, what happened is that he has praised the Lord's feet and his footwear in a manner saying that you are coming and going, you are everywhere, because the Lord's feet are all over the universe. So he finds the footprints everywhere. He's always praying for the gain to come to me from the Lord. And then he is saying to remove the obstacles. And then he also says, all of my devotion is to you. Remember when you say Namah Shivaya, or when you say Ganeshaya Namaha, you are using Shivaya, Ganeshaya. When you say Shivaya, Nameshaya, you know what you're doing? You are saying salutations to be given to you. If you say Shiva, Shiva means already is there, means Vishnu is combined in Shiva. Because remember that in the Gita, and also once earlier I told you, because that sound is there in every word that you create. So it means it is like the Brahman, it is like the God that is everywhere. So in there you cannot find a word without which means it is like the God. That's why in Gita, Lord Krishna, Bhagavan Krishna said to Arjuna that amongst alphabets, I am the alphabet A. And he is the alphabet A because when he says I am a, what he's meaning is that I am everywhere. So when we say Shiva, we already including Vishnu into Shiva. When we say Shivaya, that means we are saying to give salutation. Namah Shivaya means Namah to Lord Shiva, to Bhagwan Shiva. Namah Ganeshaya Namaha means to Ganesha our prostrations. So that is the meaning of the Shivaya that you get there. So this is a beautiful exposition of how Sanskrit, the verses, our history, our ancient intellectuals, they all come together to be able to explain this whole fantastic concept. Whilst we were talking about this, I thought I'll also in the next 5 minutes give you a small story that I will leave with you. Uh, Not so much about the mantra or anything. It's basically heritage stories, heritage about our ancestors and where we come from, the people that inhabited our land, and some of the remarkable stories that we hear from. Here is a story of roughly 320 odd years ago in the city of Hyderabad. There's a fortress called Golconda. And this Golconda fort, uh, there were Qutub Shahi dynasty, and that particular dynasty, their last king was called Tana Shah. Tana Shah came from humble backgrounds. He was the son-in-law of the he was the third son-in-law of the ruling king, and he he was married to the third daughter because one of the saints whom the kings and this son-in-law both revered predicted that he will be king of this land one day. So they married the third daughter to him, but they couldn't believe how can he, because the king already had a son and they thought he should be. Then he had daughters. The eldest daughter was already married to the emperor's son, that is Aurangzeb's son, who was in Delhi. So they thought of, but anyway, the prediction came true because Aurangzeb's son rebelled against his father-in-law and he was jailed. So it so happens that this man from very humble backgrounds actually became the king. But then he was not paying the tribute to the imperial king in Delhi, Aurangzeb. So what happens? Aurangzeb sends an army and then they lay siege to his fort. And the fortress for about 8 to 9 months is blockaded. Nothing's coming, nothing going. But then the guys were so well organized inside that they weren't budging. And the fortress is a very beautiful one. If you ever visit Hyderabad, do visit there because it's got fantastic acoustics. Because we are talking about sound, I want to tell you how these people created the sound. At the foothills of that fortress, if you clap, you can hear the sound 8 kilometers up into the deep recesses of the fort. That's how they created the sound engineer. So that fortress was surrounded and the king was not budging. So the imperial army was almost prepared to leave. At that time, one of the chief generals of the king betrays him. And look at how karma works. The people who betrayed the king ultimately start ruling that land, and they ruled for 300 years more. They are Nizams in Hyderabad. You guys must have heard of the Nizams of Hyderabad. They became the Nizams. Essentially, Nizam means prime minister. He was prime minister for the Mughal kingdom, but the Mughals perished, so the Nizams became a right to their own. But anyway, coming back to the story, this man betrayed the king, and early morning at 4 o'clock, he opened the eastern gates of the fortress, as a result of which the Mughal armies got him. Once they got in, they caught them by surprise. They caught the Golconda troops by surprise. And then their ministers, their soldiers, they all fought. For 3-4 hours, there was pitch battle that raged. Very, very fearsome battle because it was right at the doorstep now. It was all about saving your own daughters, sons, children, wives, mothers. So the battle was very pitched. Of course, the king was not directly involved in the battle, so his generals and all, but then they, by around 7:30, they had lost. The pause was over. The king was informed that they had lost. So he went across to the ladies' quarters and he announced there, he said, till today, I was able to provide you protection, but after today, no more, because by the will of God, I am no more in command of you. So the ladies started beating their chests and crying because now they did not know what will be their fate and whatever. And then a little later, soon after, the king was informed that the opposite general is wanting an audience with the king. Now remember, Aurangzeb was camped, the imperial king was camped far away from the fort. His armies had invaded and got into the fort. So his chief commander, who was involved in all the fight, he must still respect the monarch of the land he has conquered, because his own monarch is there waiting for him. So he cannot violate him. So he is very polite. He knows that he has to wait. He did not just storm the palace. He just sent word that he wants to come and seek an audience with the king, Tanasha. So Tanasha gets to know. He says, okay, bring him in and let him wait. And then within a few minutes, they usher him inside into the king's presence, Tanasha's presence. There, when this man enters, this commander, and he is, in full steel armor, bloodshot eyes, not having slept the whole night, with blood splattered on him, pieces of flesh hanging from his, places here and there, cuts and wounds. And in that state, he enters into the chamber of the king, of Tanasha. And there, Tanasha is nicely, regally sitting there in front of him. A 40-course breakfast has been served out, and he is merrily partaking of that. And he invites the commander and says, come, 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 have a seat. That commander is very surprised. He comes and takes a seat. And then he says, he asks him to partake of the breakfast and join him in. The commander can't help himself. He says in wonderment, he says, Lord Tanasha, you know, because remember, Aurangzeb was a man who had killed his own brother, killed his own father. He's one of the most cruelest kings that the Indian subcontinent had seen in history. So becoming his captive after 8-9 months of uh, not giving up means that you're certain death. So he says, you are facing certain death today. You're not even sure you'll see sunrise tomorrow. And here you are, you have an appetite for this fantastic meal of a breakfast. Tara Shah was actually, learned in all our Indic scriptures and everything. So he was fully into that. And he said, you know what? I come from humble backgrounds. At once upon a time, I was even pushing a cart. Whatever I enjoyed was given to me by the Lord Almighty. He takes it away, it is He who takes it away. So He has given it to me. What is there for me to lament? Tomorrow He will not give it to me. I still have no complaint. I love Him as I loved Him today. I love Him tomorrow. So he enjoyed his nice meal, and frankly, he really had a great appetite. He enjoyed the meal, and then he went on. And then once he was taken captive and then he was taken away, he was ushered out of the fortress. While he was leaving, he then removed, the royals, he wear a lot of jewelry and rings and all those things. So at one by one, he removed, he gave it away. As he was passing the fortress gate, he had one last, garland left that he removed, necklace, and he gave it to the gatekeeper there. And then he went on. This story finally, it actually reached Aurangzeb before he arrived. And hence Aurangzeb, instead of killing him, decided that this guy is quite an elevated soul, and he decided to spare him death, but he put him in a dungeon, and he was there for, I think, 7 years before he died in captivity. That is the story of Tanasha, and it is a very interesting story. The same Tanasha, he had ministers, 2 ministers, who built a temple for Ram near Chitrakoot. Chitrakoot is the place where Sita was abducted. So he built a temple near that place for Sri Ram. And then what happened was he used the state funds. When Tanasha came to know that he had used the state funds, he called him over and he was very upset. And that man said, I plan to return it from the donations I get from the public. He said, but he felt the process was wrong. So what happened? Tanasha jailed him. And soon after some time, Tanasha dreamt of Lord Ram coming and giving him back the jewel. And then Tanasha woke up in a fit of fright. And when he woke up, he actually found jewelry at his bedside. Because of that, he immediately released the minister and he sent the jewelry across to the temple. This temple is called Bhadrachalam Temple in Andhra Pradesh. And he sent across the jewelry to the temple and donated. And since then, Tanasha, every year, at the time of Rama's birth, Rama and Sita's marriage time, the date that comes, he always sends clothes and pearls and jewelries to the Rama. After he was taken captive, the kingdom was given to his betrayed, the betrayer, general commander. They are called the Nizams. They did that practice every year. Even today, we have a secular government there, which is the state government of Telangana. That state is called Telangana, and we have a government there, duly elected government. Even today, the government sends every year pearls and important clothing to the temple. This is a story. I'll leave you with that. Thank you very much.
Mohan bhai,
Hope you.
thank you. You have actually elaborate in a both way about the mantra, tantra, yantra, and nicely you went into the history. I know since we're talking about the kings and kingdoms, in that region there was a one kingdom it called the Vijayanagar kingdom, and the Krishna Deva Raya was the king, and who is nice to understand the way he has actually run the kingdom. Actually, coincidentally, what happened yesterday when I was doing some little bit research, that story came about the Krishna Deva Raya, and that was the only one kingdom. It was the Vijayanagar kingdom in the southern India, where the Mughals never entered that. They had a friendly relationship with them because the way the king has handled them is not because of the fear, but they had a very nicely understanding, and they know okay who is in them kingdom, the advisors. And then the Krishna Deva Raya was the king who was actually never surrender himself to anybody till he stay in his life. Next time we will go through about that history a little bit as well, and then we will put that, because lots of things we need to learn, and particularly when it's come to the southern region of the India, southern part of the India, and then I'm sure Mohan by coming from that zone, um, that entire zone with lots of informations of the history, and not only that, when it's come to the, I still always says and openly I says, when it's come to the culture, when it's come to the tradition, when it's come to the dharma, compared to the other region, the South India has kept it very strongly, and they have protected our dharma the way it is. If I'm not wrong, there was a one situation where the years ago one of the prime minister of the India wanted to go in the temple in South India. I forgot the area name, but in South India there is a rule, Mohan Bhai, isn't it? Okay, you have to wear the dhoti before you enter into the temple. Most of temples, big temples,
Some of
and
them, yes.
and the prime minister wanted to go, but because he was in a different casual dress, the temple authority didn't allow him. He says, "No, this is the our system. Even if you put it dhoti up, you will be allowed it." And then prime minister has to wear the dhoti. That we years ago it came in my knowledge. That today as we were talking, it came in just mind. That's why the southern part of the India has kept it, the culture, traditions, and dharma. And because of that, as Mohan Bhai ended the story, till today, the pearls and everything, no matter who is the ruler, no matter who is the ruler, but that's still going. Why? That's why I always says in my line, if you read continuously, dharmo rakshita dharmaha. If you protect the dharma, dharma will protect you. Number one. Number two, dharma is our identity. Dharma is our dignity. Am I right, Mohan Bhai? Do you want to say
Absolutely.
something about it?
No, awesome. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
All I
thank
would
you,
all I
Mohan
would say
Bhai.
is that yes, it's
Yeah.
our heritage, and the length and breadth of our country. There in India, you will find tales and you will find remarkable stories These are the stories of our heritage, and I think if we get the opportunity, we'll happy to share small little anecdotes or small little stories and very deep meaning, wonderful incidences, etc. that are so absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
It'll be a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
do that.
Yeah, thank you, Mohan bhai, for coming once again in our show, and thank you for giving your time and then your valuable knowledge to our viewers. And obviously, is always is something to learn from these talks. So we will see you in the next 2 or 3 weeks time again with some kind of the background of our dharmic history, with understanding about the our uh, culture, our tradition. So thank you for your time and effort and everything. We'll see you again. And then for our viewers, tomorrow we are having a normal talk show about Sikho Gujarati, Learn Gujarati. So we will have a ગુજરાતીમાં ચર્ચા કે ભાઈ ગુજરાતી શીખીશું, ગુજરાતી જાણીશું, ગુજરાતી સમજીશું. So it will be start same and normal time. It will be time which is very time where she gives us information, time which is gives us knowledge. અને ગુજરાતી તો આપણું માતૃભાષા છે અને માતૃભાષાથી જ આપણી ઓળખ છે. તો એની પર આપણે વધારે જાણીશું આવતીકાલે. તો ઓ ઈશ્વર ભજીએ તને, મોટું છે તુજ નામ, ગુણ તારા નિત્ય ગાઈ, થાય અમારા કામ. હેતલા વિહસાવતું સદા રાખ દિલ સાફ, ભૂલ કદી કરીએ અમે તો પ્રભુ કરજો માફ.